Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Is it Desert Island or Deserted Island?
I think it's Desert Island, like the one that I've circled several times at the DoubleTree.
It's definitely not that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like a DoubleTree would have a Desert Island? I'm Adam Ennis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. Peter, you know, my very first ever gig, regular gig, weekly gig, Sunday brunch.
Yep.
I was 15 years old. My dad had to drive me. Sunday brunch at the DoubleTree in Chesterfield. This is the second time I mentioned Chesterfield on the podcast.
Right. I think you mentioned Chesterfield cigarettes at one point, but we're talking about Chesterfield, Missouri.
Trio gig, Chesterfield, Missouri, the DoubleTree, and I think it paid like $50, but we got full run of the brunch buffet. And let me tell you something, I was a big boy. And I took full advantage of that Desert Island. So, yeah.
Desert Island. But it is weird, Desert Island. Well, let's tell people what we're doing today. First of all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about albums. I think most people know this.
We're taking a bit of a risk today.
We're taking a little bit of a risk. We're hoping for avoidance of full cancellation for either of us. Can we agree that we're going down together? We're not going to throw each other under the bus. Okay.
Listen, we might have bad taste. That's nothing you can cancel someone over.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend, that has happened.
I guess so.
No, but the idea is you see these lists, the 10 greatest jazz albums of all time, 10 Desert Island, although is it deserted
I think it's Desert Island because deserted implies that there was someone there before and they deserted it. I think it's Desert Island.
But they always have a picture of this island, so obviously somebody was there.
Yeah.
But it's not desert because it's tropical.
It's a very strange concept. But the idea is that okay, you're stranded somewhere, you can't get to civilization. What are the 5 albums that you would bring? And we're going to list today.
Hopefully you have a turntable and electricity.
Yeah, I don't know why you would. But we're going to name some today that are on probably a lot of people's desert island lists.
In fact, these we're kind of agreeing, these have to show up on somebody's list. These can't just be albums
random
that everybody
stuff
hates.
We don't like. Yeah. And so, but these would not go on our desert island list, which doesn't mean that we don't like them or that we hate them. It just means that we don't love them enough.
We don't want to listen to them endlessly for the rest of our lives.
No, it's I think for most
That's
of
a high
these,
bar. I mean,
I'm going to speak for myself here, but for most of these, I'm good. I think I've heard them. Most of these I've heard several times, and I don't need to listen anymore.
Some of these even I've listened. I mean, they're not offensive at all.
No,
but
classics. A lot of them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think some of these I can certainly see why some people would love that. So this is not to disparage anybody else's taste. To each his own, for sure.
Yeah.
But they just don't, for whatever reason. And actually, do we have any that we do not concur on that one of us would have on? That would be fun.
And we might actually.
Okay.
We might actually.
So
I think we have a couple. I think we have one of mine that you would like and one of yours that I would like.
Right.
But I think a lot of these, I don't know. We might be pretty split here, honestly, buddy. Some of these might be going on your desert island and not mine.
Okay.
But, we have the gentleman and ladies agreement, the gala.
The gala. We're bringing the gala back.
We are bringing the gala back. But today the gala is, put it in the comments in YouTube, your desert island discs that aren't going to your desert island. So
That's
popular albums or even artists or tracks. We have one that's just a track here.
Yeah.
That everybody loves, but for some reason it just doesn't connect with you.
Right. It doesn't do it for you.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
All right. We're really setting that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Can we take a break now and not do it?
So speaking of, Peter, your first one.
Okay. What is I don't even have the list.
I have the list. Drive on this. And I'm gonna drive the ship. Your first one.
Let's just play it.
All right.
Wait, I love this. What are you talking about? Oh, okay, yeah. It's good.
He actually is hiding under the table. Oh, man. Wow. Don't let Winton find out.
Okay.
This is Coleman Hawkins' Body and Soul. Peter, this is not for you.
This has never been for me. Why is it so loud?
I'm turning it up, buddy.
Turn up for what?
This has never been for you.
You know how I like you say. Wait, pause it right there for a second. Pause it right there. Okay, keep it paused.
I'm not a fan of
Body and Soul?
Yeah, okay, so let me explain. I've always heard from a very young age, this is like the most classic reading of this tune.
Yeah.
And I realized I love Coleman Hawkins in some other situations, but he's just not top of my list for tenor players. I do like his sound. I love his personality. He's a master for sure. I can hear that.
Yeah.
He's just not my favorite. And then also this tune, I like okay, but I don't love this tune. I never have.
I totally get it.
So that combination, to me, it doesn't rise to that classic. Like I've seen this be like the greatest saxophone performance of all time.
Yeah.
And maybe greatest performance of body and soul, but I'm like, meh for me.
Yeah. I love that this is how we're starting because I think this, for a lot of people, they melt at this, but I bet a lot of people would agree with you.
Really?
I think so.
I was scared to say this for a long time.
In my 20s, this was one of those moments for you, that chord. Yeah. This was body and soul. I was like, I don't want to learn this tune. Like everybody plays it at jam sessions and it's fine, but whatever. I've come to really love it now.
Yeah.
So I think you're a charlatan for not. No, just kidding. No, for me, this is one. I don't know if it would go on my desert island, but I can see why, and I'm sure you could see why other people might like it.
But I've seen this like it's been like one of the greatest tracks ever recorded.
Not for you, it's not.
Not for me.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's why we have
controversy
a diversity.
I love it.
Opinion. But look, I'm going to be honest. Like a lot of this stuff, some people say they love stuff because other people that they think are important say they should love it.
That's true.
And I don't like that. I think you should check something out if somebody talks about like that has some knowledge or authority or experience. Hey, check this out. Like that's good enough to check it out. But if you don't and don't just listen one time and be like, it's not for me. I mean, I've like listened to this and of course you hear this a lot and it certainly doesn't offend me, but I've certainly heard enough to say that like, that's nothing that I put on for my own listening enjoyment.
That's so great.
Oh, you love this.
My first one might be even more controversial. So this is one of my favorite artists of all time. If I could pick two people, they would be one of the two people.
But not sitting with you on your island.
And this album is one that I've always thought was okay, but has not been my favorite work. It also happens to be one of this artist's most popular recordings. And so I've always been a little bit like, whenever it's come up, even here on the podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, you know?
Yeah.
But really in my heart, I'm like, it's good. I know why people love it for its vibe and especially for its album cover. But for me, there's so much deeper, richer things from this artist. And this was still early in this artist's career. Yeah, I know.
What?
I know.
Adam Manis.
Okay, let's not put a big punctuation on it.
We have to call your mom in here to give you a spanking.
Listen, of course, I know why it's classic. It's super vibey.
Right.
Coltrane is the greatest ever, but for me, this is not my favorite thing he ever did. In fact, I would put this low on my list of Coltrane albums that I actually listened to.
Yeah.
Like if you looked at the frequency of John Coltrane's catalog, this would be nearer the bottom.
Yeah, well, so part of this I agree with you on, in that this is often cited as his greatest album and certainly one of the greatest jazz albums. I don't think this is John Coltrane's greatest record. His playing is great on it.
Always his playing is
great. But
great.
As an album, I don't think it's his most like complete creative output on an album. Now, he obviously set the bar very high because he's got a lot of like it's very hard to find like subpar Coltrane playing. So for me, just the fact, like even that solo that's coming up is a great solo.
It's a great solo.
But it's not...
Can we just put a caveat on, everybody that we're playing today, they're on this list because they're super legendary.
Yeah.
And obviously the skill, the mastery is not, we're not debating any of that.
Yeah.
But just for us, the recording is maybe not our favorite. It's not going to go on a desert island.
I think this album, because it's definitely got a desert island cover to it. So if you're going to a desert island and you had no electricity,
covers in the top 10.
You might want to have the album.
Covers in the top 10, 100%. And also,
I think that's why it gets on the list though.
It definitely has a vibe, but just for all of the Coltrane canon, it's
compositionally it's not.
It's lower down the list for me, and we're just going to keep getting more and more controversial, Peter. Because here's your next.
I forgot all these
disc that's not going on.
Just play it. Oh, I feel horrible about this.
Don't let Ken Burns hear this.
I do enjoy this record. It's just.
I'm a fool to want you.
It's Billie Holiday, Lady in Satin.
Yeah, okay. Let me explain. Can we pause it, please?
Please
I feel I don't want to be disrespectful for Billie Holiday. Okay, I love Billie Holiday.
Again, caveat. All these artists are incredible.
This record, I think, is overrated. Like because they place this above, and to me, her voice is, I think, kind of obviously not in its best shape of her career. There's the person, I mean, and I've heard people say like, oh, but the vibe and the personality and the humanity. Yes, but it's also, I'm not crazy about the way this is recorded either, like the sound of it and stuff. And I know this is probably a remastered version. I just think it's an overrated record that's not capturing her at her best. So
this is one where
that's hard because like this one shows up like almost as much as Kind of Blue on the list, which I think is an incredible record.
This is an example of one I really, really like. I don't know if it would be in my like top 10.
I think I'm
my
missing
Desert
something
Island,
on it. Yeah.
but I really love this record.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I can see, especially when you listen to some of her earlier stuff, how this just might be. I get it. But it's heart wrenching. Okay, but I have one that's of similar. My next one, I'm going to go with a similar vein here. And again, artist I love, a series of albums that I don't care for.
Okay.
It happened. I felt it.
It's Ella Fitzgerald.
I love Ella Fitzgerald.
I love Ella Fitzgerald too.
Not this Ella
These
Fitzgerald.
Verve songbook albums, and this might be a case for me of overexposure. I've just heard them so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not over it, but I don't need to listen to these anymore.
Can I do
feel
a little
Yeah, go
analysis, little compatriot analysis here?
Please do.
I think that you're a bigger fan of Billie Holiday than Ella Fitzgerald in general.
I'm a huge Sarah Vaughan
and Sarah Vaughan
and Nancy Wilson. Those are my two, and Carmen McRae.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. I was going to say, do you feel that, especially on these songbook recordings, like Ella is so well captured?
It's too perfect.
Yes.
With Nelson Riddle, and the whole thing is too. For me, it's just become so polished, and I understand.
I'm sorry, I love polished, perfect albums. I have no problem with that.
I understand why people love it. There was a time where I really was into it, but I think I've just kind of something has shifted in the last 10 years where I'm like, I get it. I've heard it so many times. I don't think I need it in my playlist, at least for the moment. This could all change. I could be like an 80-year-old man and this is all I listen to. I don't know.
One part I would agree is on the songbook recordings, like a lot of those songs are not that great. And Ella was like reading them down. Yeah. Literally reading them. They would write everything in C for her no matter what, because that's the way she wanted to read the thing. I believe. I hope I'm not screwing up this story. But like everything, even no matter what key she was reading, and then she would sight read it. Some of these songs, she didn't know a lot. I mean, there's so many songs. The Cole Porter, the Gershwin, the
Richard Rogers,
Johnny Mercer.
I would much rather listen to earlier stuff or live recordings or the stuff she did with Louis Armstrong, than all of these big orchestra arrangements.
And that kind of placed her in a certain, like with the arrangements, which are amazing. Yeah, it placed her in a certain. It was a certain placement for her to have to sing them to fit around them that was amazing, and of course her voice. But I can see how that wouldn't be. Now I would direct you towards, and anybody, to those really cool, like she does Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love, which I don't even know, is that Cole Porter? Like that, I can still remember how there's some gems on those songbook records for sure.
100%.
But and then look, Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. Summertime. I mean, unbelievable.
And this is one I still would direct, especially young students who are just getting into these songs, to these recordings as a resource to learn about the verse and the melody, because she's so precise. Right. And the arrangements are classic, obviously, or at least have been around for so long that they're part of now the canon of the song. Yep. But for me, I could, there's other things I'd like to listen to, I think. Got it. Speaking of.
Wait, is this mine or yours?
It's both of ours.
Oh, it's both of ours. That's a great drum sound. Great piano sound. Great playing, I mean. Great phrasing, swinging.
You love this.
I do not love this. I like it. I like it a lot.
But it's not going on your desert island.
It's not going on my desert island because I think this is another situation where it's an incredible record, A level, but not A plus.
Oversaturated, possibly?
Overrated a little bit. And that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be among the discussion of the great albums that are beloved. And some would take, like, if I was out on my boat going from my desert island to another's and floated by and saw this, I wouldn't be like, oh, how gauche of you.
It would make sense.
Have that.
It would make sense.
I could totally understand because the quality's there. There's certain albums, even by great artists, that I would be like, really? We were talking about one by Red Garland, who's one of our favorite pianists, but made an album that I would be like, Really? That would be on your... So this is not one of those, I wouldn't say. But it's... Yeah, I think it's a little bit overrated, so it doesn't make that top tier.
I agree. It gained such fame and popularity and became so ubiquitous in the culture around the music. And listen,
and it's iconic. It's certainly iconic.
It's certainly iconic. The sound, of course, as you mentioned, the drums sound amazing.
Yeah.
The production is incredible. I think a lot of the songwriting is good, but I don't think... And again, I hate putting these caveats on it, but it's true. I don't think it's as deserved as like this sort of legendary status as far as like game changing composition or playing or anything like that.
It's fun stuff that I can totally understand why it had such huge... I mean, it was on the top 10. The Billboard Pop Top 10. This, I don't know if the album or this or the tune.
And it makes sense.
Take 5. So I mean, I totally get it. And I'm not saying in it like it's smooth jazz or anything like that. I mean, this is legit stuff.
I think for a lot of players, especially of our generation, there might be a little bit of aversion just because of how many gigs.
Right.
People have been like, "Hey, play Take 5."
It's never the musicians saying that.
No, it's never the musician saying that. It's someone walking by yelling at you, and it's just has run its course. I think at least for me, and I think for you too.
Yep.
Okay, this is one of mine, and this is not.
He's getting his confidence level.
This is going to ruffle a lot of feathers.
Your shoulders are slumping.
It's going to ruffle a lot of feathers, but it's a good thing that we're going to a land of feathers.
What? Oh, no, you didn't.
We're going to Birdland.
No, you didn't.
No, this is, of course, it's Heavy Weather by Weather Report. This is a lot of people's favorite album of all time.
Yeah.
And this is one I've never really checked out that much. Like, of course, I've
never
heard
checked it out, or you don't like it?
I mean...
Or it's not going on your desert island?
It's definitely not going on my desert island. I love all the musicians on it. Obviously, Jocko.
Right.
Wayne. Joe.
Yeah.
The whole crew. Amazing.
Yeah. But you're not the biggest
I've just
Weather
never
Report
connected
fan
to it. You know what?
Yeah.
I've just never connected to... Honestly, I've never connected to Weather Report. I'm so into Herbie from that era.
Right.
And now Keith Jarrett from that era.
Interesting.
I'm maybe saving a spot for Weather Report later, but it's never hit me in the gut. Like, it's never like been like, oh my God, that's my music. I don't know why. It just never has. And it's embarrassing because a lot of people love it. A lot of people whose opinions about music I really respect and admire love it. It's just never connected to me as it has with other people.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I mean, I think knowing your taste a little bit in terms of like, it's never an either or, and there's always a combination, but it like, if it's funky fusion versus Weather Report fusion, I hate to use, is that even a thing? I mean, this is funky on here too, but like the Herbie, like a little bit more of a backbeat, a little bit more of a Secrets. Would that make it onto your
Secrets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a
you think it would? Do you think it might?
It's a different sound. And it's really like a red, blue, green. I mean, this is a quality record.
Secrets, Manchild, Thrust, Headhunters, Sunlight. It's all going on my desert
and that's
island.
it.
The entire 70s Herbie catalog is going on my desert island.
Right. Heavy Weather? No, it's floating out in the sea, unrecognized.
Yeah, you know what? And again, it's classic for a reason. Obviously, the playing is amazing. Obviously, the compositions are incredible. It just hasn't hit me. It has never hit me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Last one, and I think this is generational. So this is a Japanese pianist named Ryo Fukui. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Do you have that pulled up at all?
Yeah, I don't know if this is correct. But
Fukui.
Ryo Fukui.
Ryo Fukui.
Fukui.
And this became popular just in the last couple of decades.
Yeah, this was kind of weird. It just kind of percolated. I love how it sort of happened. I mean, unless somebody planted it, seems to be sort of an organic resurgence, or really just a surgence. Not a resurgence.
But it's on a lot of people's desert island jazz albums.
Yeah.
And it's this one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's very good playing.
Is it?
It's swinging. Yeah, I mean, it's on the spectrum. It's not bad. It's not medium. It's not great. Maybe I don't know. He's playing a standard. He's playing a trio. Like if you walked in and heard that in a hotel lobby, you'd be like, wow, they sound good. But would you want to record that or listen to that over and over again?
Obviously,
I don't quite get it.
In the 70s, and I mean, if you're talking about like these kind of trio recordings in the 70s, you have Hank Jones and Keith Jarrett and Barry Harris and McCoy Tyner and and Kenny Barron and a ton of people that are playing this kind of thing that feels maybe like Bill Evans, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know. Yeah. I don't. Maybe there's some story that we don't know. You guys can please let us know in the comments on YouTube if
not
there's
trying
an
to be
interesting
disrespectful,
story.
but just don't really understand the hype behind that one.
Right.
So
there you go. To each his own.
Again, our tastes are questionable.
This was fun.
I know. We hardly ever.
Again.
Well,
i.e. never.
we hate focusing on anything that's not positive, Peter. You and I really get stressed out.
This is a good exercise for us to embrace a little bit of negativity. If this is as negative as we get,
I know, because we caveated everything. Everybody's so good, but obviously we don't.
Coleman Hawkins. I'm not saying he's not the greatest ever.
He is the greatest ever. I just wouldn't bring it with me.
If I had to bring 5 albums, if I brought 6, it would be the 6th one. Don't worry. Along with Ryo Fukui. We'll bring them all.
No, listen, man,
it's a big tent.
We have to have taste. I mean, one day it's going to be like the point when we're sitting at a bar and actually talking. That's the goal. That's the goal. And trash talking.
Pretty close. This is pretty close. But no, this is great. And I think it's just a reminder. I would encourage everybody, embrace what you love. And that's really what we rarely go negative because we're so focused on stuff that we like. And a lot of times people in the comments are like, well, what about them? What about, the whatabouts? And some of that stuff we don't know or we don't. I mean, a very small group of that we hate or don't like. That almost never happens.
I mean, actually, none of this
more like
I hate.
Of course.
Of course. Like, all of this
there is music that I hate.
100%. All of this is good music, for sure. But it's okay to have preferences.
And there should be. Like, we shouldn't like, you guys should not be coming, and I know you don't come to us to be like, what is the approved list and what is the not? No, and somebody might hear some of what we just did. Oh, I never heard Birdland before. That's amazing. You know, people love that kind of stuff.
Also,
to each his own.
It's okay for your preferences to change over time.
Right.
There. I think everything on this list at one point,
except Kind of Blue, that always stays on the island.
That always stays
don't
on the
ever
island.
let that bad boy off the island.
No, but it's okay to like something at one point and then just not be that into it at another. That's
and
fine.
as we're
or
showing,
vice versa.
And it's okay to be like Heavy Weather, which is one of the. I mean, the only thing that's controversial maybe about that, some people are like, well, that's not a jazz album, that's a fusion record. But if you consider that in this group of like jazz, like that one would show up. Like, we're not just trying to be reactionary to stuff that's popular. And I think our love of Kind of Blue and putting that on the list would show that. But it's just to be like honest to yourself. Like, what do you really love?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
What do you really love? Spend time with that. Keep learning and hearing other things and give yourself a chance to absorb something new. Don't just have a knee-jerk reaction to it. But also, like, be open to your own taste and discernment. It's like wine tasting. Some people are like, well, I got to know what the score is. No, score it yourself. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hearing somebody else's score, but if it tastes like piss to you, give it a score, even if it's got a 94 from Robert Parker.
So the thing to take away from is that you think that Coleman Hawkins.
don't even, please.
We gotta go.
Love you, Coleman Hawkins.
Till next time.
You'll hear it.